guys, and welcome back to Random Immy. If you are new here, please remember to like and subscribe. In today's video, we will be learning how to make the Stormvault altar and Stigmarite bridges. To do this, you will need to make sure that you have clippers and plastic glue, the instructions on how to make the model, the sprue to make the models. The first thing I'm going to do is cut out this tomb and this tomb, as nothing else needs to be glued to them. These are just standalone models. Now that I've cut these two tombs out, I'm going to cut off the mould lines. You may find that you do not need to cut them down much, as you may have already been close to the mould, not like where the mould's attached to them. I've now cut the mould lines off these two, and I'm going to put them to the side so I can start making the braziers and the actual main part of the model, which is the Stormvault altar. To make the first brazier, what I need to do is cut out one of these two pieces here, one of these two pieces here, and one of the two flames which are here and here. The one I don't use for the first one, I'll be using for the second one. Here is an example that shows me not cutting the mould lines off correctly. Don't be deceived by the two parts next to it, which are actually part of the model. The part that's to the right, which looks slightly lighter grey, is actually the bit from the mould lines. It's easier if you've got a bigger bit of mould line to cut off, because it will ping right off, and it should hopefully lie as flat as it would do, if not better than if you cut right up close to the model the first time. Now that I've cut the mould lines off each part, I'm going to stick them together. I'm going to do this first by attaching this part here to the base part, and then the fire, once the brazier part where the fire is held into that. As always, I'm going to do a dry fit first. There is no particular orientation on this, just as long as the grooves are in the same direction as each other. And then afterwards, there's the flame, you just put in, and that's it with a dry test. Now all I need to do is glue them together. So I'm going to show you what it's going to be like if I glue in the two holes, and we'll see what the difference is on this one. And on the second one, I will do it the other way around. So then that goes there. So then the flame just needs to stick in the middle of the brazier, which I am just going to stick the dot in the flame, and then stick. And it also just realised that you might need to stick some on the room, the edge of the room. Help secure it, just like that. I'm now going to do the same process again, but with the second one, using the same parts as I did before. Like I said earlier, this time I'm going to try putting the glue on these two bits to see if I need as much glue as if I put the glue in the holes on the bottom of this. I'm also then going to stick the flame, like I did before, in on top. So I'm just going to put a blob of glue on each little bit, a small blob, and then with the correct orientation, stick that in, just like that. It's still feeling as strong as the other one, but it doesn't have as much leakage as if I put the glue in the holes on the top part up before. So now, just so I have a flame, which I'm going to do by adding a small blob of glue in the middle again, then a blob on either side for it to connect the flame in to sit properly. I am now going to start making the Stormvault altar, which is made out of this part, this part, this part, this part, and this part. As not to cause confusion, I'm going to lay the parts out in the order that it is in the instructions, from E1 to E5. All the pieces are now cut out and in order. All I need to do now is cut off the access mould lines. I'm starting with E1 with cutting off the mould lines, and I'm now thinking I'm going to rearrange these from E1 to E5 into the layout of how the model should look. Now on to E2. E3 is next, and this is going on the left side of E1. E4, which connects the other two, E3 and E2 together at the other side. And last but not least, E5. You can get most of the mould lines off into another smoother finish by using a mould scraper, but I have lost mine currently. And that it will go in the middle, as that is the top. Now all that I need to do is stick them together. I'm going to start off by gluing E1 and E2 together. I'm first going to do a quick dry fit, which I have flipped the model upside down to make it easier to do. And now that that's done, I'm going to just glue it to the best of my ability. Just as well, from doing a dry fit, you can tell how's best to glue this. So what I have noticed just by doing the dry fit is that every smooth side should have the glue on. Then maybe the two extra little squares that are on E2 can have glue to also make sure it's secure properly. So I'm just going to start off by doing the blob on the bottom parts of the stairs to start off with, on E1 and do a quick run on the side as well. I'm really not squeezing too much on the glue. And then on the outer kind of bit of the little tiny squares, I'm just adding a blob of glue to make sure they're stable. Then I'm just gonna, like I did with the dry fit, push them back in. If you've got a bit of kitchen roll or something like that, it will also help because you can then wipe off excess glue on the front of the model once it's secure a bit more for a nicer looking finish. It doesn't really matter on the inside as all the parts as well will be hidden. So, but you don't really need that much kitchen roll or towel, whatever you use to wipe off the glue. And there's E1 and E2 connected together. I'm just going to leave this to dry for a few minutes before I start adding E3 to this other side. As you can see, there are two parts left on the sprue, which are these two parts, which are labelled on the sprue as E8 and E8. These two parts are not in the instructions, so keep hold of the sprue just in case if they come up in any other instructions later on. The part that we have just made is now dry enough to add E3 to the other side of what was E1 part. Just like with adding E2 to E1, I'm going to do a dry fit and use the same glue method as it is the same piece but in a different shape style. Which looks like that. If you are struggling to know the orientation of this piece and how it's meant to fit to the other part that's made with E2 connected, if you put the two pieces together, this should end up having the same step at the bottom, like that, and it should have the stairs being the same way. That would be incorrect, and that would also be incorrect because the stairs aren't going, even though they are in the correct orientation, the stairs themselves aren't in the right way. Now that I've done my dry fit, I'm going to add the glue onto the sides that I did last time. Oh, it looks like it's got glue blobs. And then it's just a small blob on the square bits again. And then we go to stick them in to place. You may find that you need to hold it a little bit to make sure it's 100% secure. Oh. And then I'm going to dry off the excess glue again. On the front part. There we go. And that's the E3 connected to the part of E1 and E2. So now that the part E3 that we've added to the previous part of E1 and E2 is now dried enough to make sure that it is stable, I'm now going to add E4 onto this end, which are the ends of E3 and E2. And that will make it secure enough to then place E5 on top, which is like a lid kind of thing, but not. I'm going to do a dry fit first before I add the glue on to this. This is going to be more difficult than it seems, as you can't wiggle about with the spacing of the other previous model parts that you've got joined together. There we go. There's the dry fit done. Now all I need to do is actually properly glue it together. I ended up gluing E4 off camera and it fit back in really smoothly, just like it did do when I was trying to do it earlier as a dry fit. As with me struggling with this part, like gluing, adding E4 in, it was fortunate that the glue on E3 was still a little tacky, so I could move it out a little bit to try and help fit this part back in to place. This part is now dry enough for me to add E5 to the top. There is no particular orientation that this part should go. I'm gonna do the part with the sun going down the stair part and the moon side going down the side that just looks like it's a jail. Before I even attempt adding this part on, now that I've got these parts together, I'm gonna do another quick mold line check to make sure that no obstructions are in the way on the top. If there are, clip them. Sometimes when you've got these parts together, it's a lot easier to do, to cut down the mold lines. There we go. And just like I said every other time, do a quick dry fit to make sure that you're happy with how it's secure the parts is before adding the glue to it. I'm now happy with how I've done my dry fit and how secure it is. I'm now just going to glue the edges here and in between the gaps here on the bottom of the model to make sure it sticks properly on the inside as well as the top. Because even if it's just glued on the top, it can still be a little bit wobbly. And there you have it, the complete Stormvault altar and Stigmarite bridges. Thanks for watching and please remember to like and subscribe.